My beloved brothers and sisters, imagine this for a moment. You spend your wealth for the sake of Allah. You give your Zakat Al-Fitr sincerely at the end of Ramadan. You feel happy because you believe you have fulfilled an important obligation. But what if the person you gave it to was not supposed to receive it in the first place? What if that act which you hoped would bring you reward was done incorrectly simply because you did not know the rules? This is a mistake many Muslims make every single year. Sometimes we give zakat to people just because they are close to us. Sometimes we give it to someone who appears needy but actually does not qualify. And sometimes we even give it to family members who cannot receive it at all. Islam does not leave this matter to guesswork. Allah has clearly explained who deserves zakat and who does not. When we understand these rules, our charity becomes more powerful, more meaningful, and more rewarding. But when we ignore them, even with good intentions, we risk turning a beautiful act of worship into a serious mistake. Today, we are going to reflect on 7 powerful lessons about Zakat Al-Fitr that every Muslim should know. Lessons that can protect your charity, purify your wealth, and ensure that your worship is done the way Allah intended. 1. Zakat is an act of worship. My beloved brothers and sisters, when we hear the word zakat, many people immediately think of charity. They think of helping someone, giving a little money, feeding the poor. And yes, it is charity, but it is something much deeper than that. Zakat is an act of worship. Just like your salah is worship. Just like your fasting in Ramadan is worship. Just like your dua and your recitation of the Quran are acts of worship. And whenever something becomes an act of worship in Islam, it means Allah has set rules for it. Think about it carefully. When you pray salah, can you decide to pray however you want? Can you say, today I will pray Maghrib with 5 rakah because I feel like it? Of course not. Even if your intention is good, the prayer would not be correct because it does not follow the way Allah and His Messenger Sada taught us. The same principle applies to zakat. You cannot simply give it any way you like or to anyone you choose. Sometimes people say, my intention is good, I just wanted to help someone. And helping people is beautiful. It is encouraged in Islam. But zakat is not the same as general charity. Zakat is an obligation. It is something Allah placed upon us so that our wealth becomes purified. That is why the word zakat itself carries the meaning of purification and growth. When you give zakat properly, you are not losing money. In reality, Allah is cleansing your wealth and placing barakah in what remains. But when we ignore the rules of zakat, when we give it carelessly, when we distribute it simply based on emotion rather than knowledge, then we risk turning a powerful act of worship into something imperfect or even invalid. Imagine standing before Allah on the day of judgment thinking you fulfilled your obligation only to realize that the zakat was not given correctly. That is why knowledge is so important. My brothers and sisters, Islam does not leave us guessing. Allah has already explained who deserves zakat and who does not. When we follow those guidelines sincerely, our zakat becomes something extraordinary. It becomes a means of purification for our wealth, mercy for the poor, and a source of immense reward for us in the hereafter. So the first thing we must understand is this. Zakat Al-Fitr is not just charity you hand out at the end of Ramadan. It is an act of worship. And every act of worship in Islam must be done the way Allah wants it to be done. 2, not everyone can receive zakat. My beloved brothers and sisters, one of the most common misunderstandings about Zakat Al-Fitr is this. People assume that anyone can receive it. Sometimes we think, let me just give it to someone I know. Or we say, this person is close to me, so they should get it. But Islam teaches us something very important. Zakat is not random charity. It is structured by Allah. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, has already explained who qualifies to receive zakat. This means we cannot simply decide based on emotions, relationships, or convenience. Many people make this mistake, especially during Ramadan. They rush to give their Zakat Al-Fitr quickly, and instead of checking who truly needs it, they give it to whoever is nearby, whoever asks first, or whoever they feel most comfortable giving it to. But Zakat has a specific purpose. It is meant to support those who genuinely struggle, those who cannot meet their basic needs, those who are in hardship and difficulty. If someone already has enough wealth to support themselves comfortably, then they do not qualify for zakat, even if they are someone you know well. And this is where people sometimes get confused. They say, but this person is my cousin, or this person is part of my family. My brothers and sisters, being family does not automatically make someone eligible for zakat. If they are not in genuine need, then your zakat should go to someone else who truly deserves it. This does not mean you should not help your family. Helping family members is actually one of the most rewarding acts in Islam. But that help can come from regular charity, from kindness, from gifts, from support. Zakat, however, must go to those who meet the conditions set by Allah. When we understand this properly, our zakat becomes more meaningful and more powerful. Instead of giving it casually, we begin to think carefully about who truly needs it, who might be struggling silently, who might be unable to provide for their family. And when your zakat reaches the right person, it does something incredible. It brings relief to their hardship, dignity to their life, and blessings to your wealth. This is why Islam guides us so carefully in this matter. Because zakat is not just about giving money, it is about lifting people out of difficulty and fulfilling a responsibility that Allah has entrusted to us. Your parents and children cannot take your zakat. My beloved brothers and sisters, one of the biggest mistakes people make when distributing zakat is giving it to their own parents or their own children. At first, it may seem logical. A person might say, my parents need help, so I will give them my zakat. Or they may say, my child is struggling financially, so I will support them through zakat. But Islam teaches us something very important here. Your parents and your children are already your responsibility. Allah has placed a duty upon you to care for them. Supporting them is not optional. It is not charity. It is an obligation of love, respect, and responsibility. If your parents are in need, you should absolutely help them. In fact, helping your parents is one of the greatest acts of kindness in Islam. The reward for honoring and supporting your parents is immense. But that support should come from your own wealth, not from your zakat. The same applies to your children. If your child is struggling financially, it is your duty as a parent to support them. You cannot fulfill that responsibility through zakat because their well-being is already your direct obligation. Think about the wisdom behind this. If people were allowed to give zakat to their parents and children, many individuals might simply keep the zakat within their own household. The purpose of zakat would then be lost. Zakat is meant to circulate through society, reaching those who have no one to support them, those who are struggling silently, those who may not even have family to turn to. So Islam separates these responsibilities. Your family responsibilities must be fulfilled personally from your own earnings with sincerity and care. And your zakat should go to those outside your direct financial responsibility, people who genuinely qualify and truly need that support. When you understand this distinction, something beautiful happens. You begin to fulfill two acts of worship instead of one. You support your parents and children out of love and duty, and you distribute your zakat correctly to those who are entitled to receive it. And in doing so, you gain double the reward and double the barakah in your wealth. For zakat is not for the wealthy. My beloved brothers and sisters, another serious mistake people make with Zakat Al-Fitr is giving it to someone who is not truly in need. Sometimes we see someone and we assume they are struggling. Other times we give zakat simply because it is easier or more convenient. Perhaps the person is close to us, perhaps they asked us, or perhaps we just did not take the time to find someone who genuinely needs it. But zakat is not meant for those who are already comfortable in their lives. The Prophet made it very clear that zakat is meant to support those who are poor and struggling, those who do not have enough to meet their basic needs. If someone already has sufficient wealth, a stable income, and the ability to provide for themselves, then they should not be receiving zakat. Imagine this for a moment. There may be a family somewhere struggling to buy food, a mother worrying about how she will feed her children, a father unable to provide basic necessities, a person silently suffering because they cannot even afford simple things. Ajayt, these are the people zakat is meant to reach. When zakat is given to someone who is already wealthy or comfortable, the true purpose of zakat is lost. Instead of relieving hardship, it simply moves money from one comfortable person to another. Islam teaches us to be thoughtful and responsible with our acts of worship. Before giving zakat, take a moment to reflect. Ask yourself, does this person truly need it? Are they struggling? Would this zakat actually ease their burden? Because when zakat reaches someone who is genuinely in need, it does more than just help them financially. It restores hope, it restores dignity, and it reminds them that the ummah still cares about them. That is the beauty of zakat when it is given the way Allah intended. Zakat strengthens the ummah. My beloved brothers and sisters, one of the most beautiful aspects of zakat in Islam is that it is not only about giving money, it is about building a caring and balanced society. Allah did not make zakat obligatory without wisdom. Behind this obligation is a powerful system designed to ensure that no one in the Muslim community is left completely abandoned or forgotten. When zakat is given correctly, it creates a bridge between the hearts of people. The one who gives begins to feel humility and gratitude. They realize that the wealth they have is not purely their own achievement, but a blessing from Allah that carries responsibility. Zakat reminds the wealthy that their prosperity is not meant to make them distant from others, but rather to make them a source of relief for those in hardship. At the same time, the one who receives zakat feels something incredibly important: dignity and care. They realize that the community has not forgotten them. They feel supported rather than abandoned. This removes feelings of resentment, jealousy, and desperation that often grow in societies where wealth is unevenly distributed. Subhanallah, look at the wisdom in this system. Without zakat, wealth tends to stay in the hands of a small group of people. The rich continue to become richer while the poor struggle even more. But zakat ensures that a portion of wealth flows back into the community, reaching those who need it the most. This flow of generosity purifies the hearts of the wealthy and eases the struggles of the poor. It creates compassion where there might have been indifference. It creates unity where there might have been division. Imagine a community where every Muslim who has wealth fulfills their zakat sincerely and distributes it properly. The poor would feel supported, the struggling would find relief, and many hardships would be eased before they grow into greater problems. Zakat becomes more than a financial transaction. It becomes a system of mercy. It reminds us that the ummah is not meant to function as isolated individuals. We are meant to care for one another, support one another, and uplift one another. And when Muslims fulfill zakat with sincerity, something powerful happens. The community grows stronger, hearts grow softer, and society begins to reflect the mercy and justice that Islam teaches. That is why zakat is not just an obligation placed upon the wealthy. It is a pillar that strengthens the entire ummah. 6, intention matters more than the amount. My beloved brothers and sisters, when it comes to acts of worship in Islam, there is something that stands above the action itself. Something invisible, something that no human being can see, yet it determines the true value of what we do. That is our intention. The Prophet taught us a principle that is so powerful that it changes the way we look at every act of worship. He said that actions are judged by intentions and every person will receive what they intended. Think about that carefully. Two people may give the exact same amount of charity, the same money, the same time, the same opportunity, yet in the sight of Allah, one of them may receive immense reward while the other may receive almost nothing. Why? Because of the intention behind the act. When you give Zakat Al-Fitr, it is not just about transferring wealth from your hand to someone else's hand. It is about what is happening inside your heart at that moment. Are you giving because you truly want to obey Allah? Are you giving because you want to purify your wealth and please your Creator? Or are you giving simply because everyone else is doing it or because you want people to see you as generous? These questions matter deeply. Islam teaches us that sincerity transforms even the smallest act into something enormous in reward. A small amount given with a heart full of humility, gratitude, and sincerity can weigh incredibly heavy on the scale of good deeds on the day of judgment. But on the other hand, a large amount given with arrogance, showing off, or carelessness may lose its spiritual value. That is why before giving zakat, it is important to pause for a moment and remind yourself why you are doing it. You are doing it because Allah commanded it. You are doing it because everything you own ultimately belongs to Allah. You are doing it because you want your wealth to be purified and your soul to grow closer to your Creator. When a person gives zakat with this mindset, something beautiful happens inside their heart. They no longer see the act as losing money. Instead, they begin to see it as an investment in the hereafter. Every coin given sincerely becomes something waiting for you in the next life. Every act of generosity becomes a shield against hardship on the day when people will desperately search for their good deeds. There is another important aspect of intention when giving zakat. It should never be about seeking recognition. Sometimes people give charity and then feel the need to announce it. They want others to know how generous they are. They want appreciation, praise, admiration. But when the intention shifts toward impressing people, the spiritual beauty of the act begins to fade. The most powerful charity is often the one that is given quietly, sincerely, without seeking attention. A person gives because they know Allah sees them. A person gives because they know Allah knows their struggle and their sacrifice. A person gives because they believe that Allah will replace what they give with something better. And this belief is not just wishful thinking. It is a promise. Allah promises that charity does not decrease wealth. In fact, it brings barakah, blessings and protection into a person's life. Many people have experienced this. The more sincerely they give, the more Allah opens doors for them that they never expected. Their wealth becomes blessed, their problems become lighter, their hearts become more peaceful. This is the secret behind sincere charity. When zakat is given with a pure intention, it does not just help the person receiving it, it transforms the person giving it as well. It softens their heart, it removes greed, it reminds them that this world is temporary and that true success lies in what we send forward for the hereafter. So before you give your Zakat Al-Fitr, take a moment to check your intention. Remind yourself that this is not simply a financial duty, it is an opportunity to draw closer to Allah. Give it sincerely, give it humbly, give it knowing that Allah is watching your heart even more than your hand. And when your intention is pure, even a small act of giving can become something incredibly powerful in the sight of Allah. 7, knowledge protects your worship. My beloved brothers and sisters, one of the greatest reasons people make mistakes in acts of worship is not bad intentions. Most people truly want to do good. They want to please Allah. They want their charity to be accepted. They want their worship to count on the day of judgment. But sometimes the problem is simply a lack of knowledge. And this is something Islam warns us about very clearly. Imagine a person who spends years performing an act of worship incorrectly. They pray, they fast, they give charity, believing they are doing everything properly. But because they never took the time to learn the correct way, they may unknowingly fall into mistakes that reduce the value of those actions. This is why Islam places such a strong emphasis on seeking knowledge. Knowledge protects your worship. Knowledge protects your intentions. Knowledge protects you from falling into errors that could easily be avoided. When it comes to Zakat Al-Fitr, many people follow tradition instead of knowledge. They give it the way their parents did or the way their community does it, without ever asking whether it is actually being done correctly. But Islam teaches us to always return to the guidance of Allah and the teachings of the Prophet Sadda. When Allah made zakat an obligation, He did not leave it vague or confusing. He provided clear guidance about who should give it, when it should be given, and who is eligible to receive it. All of this knowledge is available to us. And in today's world, accessing knowledge is easier than ever before. A person can learn from scholars, lectures, books, and reliable sources within minutes. So the real question becomes this: do we take the time to learn, or do we simply assume that what we are doing must be correct? My brothers and sisters, worship is too important to be built on assumptions. Your salah is too important. Your fasting is too important. Your zakat is too important. These acts of worship are not just rituals we perform. They are our connection to Allah, our preparation for the hereafter, our investment for the day when every deed will be weighed. That is why even a small amount of knowledge can make a huge difference. When you learn the correct rulings of zakat, suddenly your charity becomes more meaningful. You give it with confidence. You know it is reaching the people who truly deserve it. You know that you are fulfilling your obligation in the way Allah intended. And that knowledge brings peace to the heart. There is another powerful benefit of learning about zakat and other acts of worship. When you learn, you are able to teach others. Perhaps you share the knowledge with your family. Perhaps you guide a friend who was unaware of the correct ruling. Perhaps you help someone avoid a mistake that they have been making for years. And every time someone benefits from that knowledge, you share in the reward. This is how knowledge spreads goodness throughout the community. One person learns, then teaches another. That person teaches someone else. And before you know it, many people begin performing their worship more correctly and more sincerely. All because someone took the time to seek knowledge first. So let this be the final reminder. Before we perform acts of worship, especially obligations like zakat, we should make it a habit to learn the rulings properly. Ask questions. Listen to trustworthy scholars. Read authentic sources. Because when knowledge guides your actions, your worship becomes stronger, more sincere, and more accepted. And when your worship is accepted, that is the greatest success any believer could ever hope for. May Allah grant us knowledge that benefits us, actions that are sincere, and worship that is accepted. Ameen. My beloved brothers and sisters, Zakat Al-Fitr is not just a small charity we give at the end of Ramadan. It is a trust from Allah placed in our hands. It is meant to purify our fasting, cleanse our wealth, and bring relief to those who are struggling. But for it to fulfill that purpose, it must be given the right way to the right people with the right intention. When we take the time to learn the rulings of zakat, we protect our worship. We make sure that our charity truly reaches those who need it the most. And most importantly, we increase the chances that our deeds will be accepted by Allah. Remember, on the day of judgment, every single deed will matter, every act of sincerity will matter, and every obligation we fulfilled correctly will become a source of light for us. So take a moment to reflect, learn the rulings, and give your zakat with sincerity, knowledge, and compassion. May Allah accept our fasting, accept our charity, purify our wealth, and make us among those who help others purely for His sake. Ameen.